And there is an agenda to get people back under Noahide laws. And if you sort of look up and Google Noahide laws, they're literally laws that would bring everyone under the control of Judaism. And it's a very dangerous thing, and not something that Christians should be supporting at all, really. But I understand there's a sort of gray area that people are being drawn into with I think promises that you'll get a deeper relationship with God, with understanding the Hebrew roots of Christianity. Well, actually, the Old Testament has nothing to do with the New, and we need to realize that we don't have to have Hebrew roots. We are all included in Jesus. And Paul made it pretty clear what his view was in terms of, well, who were the people of God? And even later on in sort of Peter describes, look, you were once not a people and now you are the people of God. You are a royal priesthood, a holy nation, as opposed to Israel being a royal priesthood and a holy nation, which they saw themselves under the old covenant. But even Peter decreed that, no, it's actually those who are in Christ who are now this royal priesthood, this holy nation. And Paul also says, look, you were aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, but now that middle wall of partition has been removed, so they're now one new man in Christ. And we have this understanding, which has been sort of clear for a long time, and now it's sort of starting to get obscured with the rise of the Hebrew roots movement, trying to get people back under the deception of the bondage of the law. And I think very clearly, when you look at Paul's statements of who he considered the people of God, who he actually called the Israel of God, because we got to understand that the terminology in those days, in this transition period, was confusing to Gentiles, and Jewish people were still calling themselves God's people. And ultimately today, this whole sort of Christian Zionist movement would still call Israel the earthly people of God, and the church is the heavenly people of God. And they're separating what Paul said was one new man. And they're trying to separate it again into two groups, where there is only one group. And for that sense, there are believers in what Jesus has done, and there are people who are not yet believers in what Jesus has done, but Jesus has still done everything necessary for those people, even though they don't believe it yet. But hopefully, and I believe eventually, all people will come to the knowledge of the truth and accept what Jesus has done willingly, and enter into that wonderful relationship with the Father. If you enjoy these videos, would you please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe? It really does help. Thank you very much.